If Baldur's Gate 3 is like a long fantasy novel you read with candles on, Lords of the Fallen is that same book, set on fire and read during an earthquake. This game is pure, unapologetic chaos dressed in Unreal Engine 5's prettiest armor. You play as a dark crusader, hopping between two realms, the land of the living and the creepy umbral world, where everything wants you dead and also looks stunning while killing you. The graphics are so sharp, you could probably cut a demon with them. Combat? Brutal. Story? Darker than your sleep schedule. You can customize your class, wield weapons that look like they weigh more than your character's soul, and die about 100 times before learning your first boss pattern. It's okay. Death here is part of the education system. And even though it's more action-heavy, the RPG depth is solid. Stats, spells, gear, choices, all baked in. Every little decision feels like it changes your fate, or at least how dramatically you'll scream when you die. If Baldur's Gate 3 is about moral choices and party bonding, Lords of the Fallen is about facing your inner demons, and 47 outer ones too. Moral of the story? Don't fear the darkness, just fear your own skill level.
Now imagine Baldur's Gate 3, but everyone has better hair, fancier armor, and a dramatic orchestra playing while they argue. That's Final Fantasy XVI. This game doesn't just have RPG drama, it is the drama. You play as Clive Rosefield. Yes, that's a name. A knight with anger issues, elemental powers, and a tragic backstory so long you'll need popcorn to get through it. Set in the beautiful, war-torn world of Valisthea, it's all about political betrayal, epic boss fights, and emotional voice acting that makes even your controller feel sad. The combat is real-time, fast, flashy, and full of magical kabooms that make your TV sweat. Unlike Baldur's Gate's slow, tactical choices, FF16 gives you cinematic, anime-level battles where your sword swings can literally summon mythical beasts called icons. Think of it as Dungeons & Dragons directed by Michael Bay. And yes, it's an RPG at heart, complete with leveling, gear, ability trees, and character growth that hits harder than most real-life therapy sessions. Visually, unreal. The landscapes look painted by gods who own PS5s. So if you loved Baldur's Gate 3's grand story, but wished it had a few more explosions and emotional breakdowns, Final Fantasy XVI has you covered. Okay, so imagine you're playing Baldur's Gate 3, but instead of medieval knights, your protagonist just dropped in from New York City. That's Forspoken, the lost in fantasy land simulator nobody asked for, but secretly needed. You play as Frey, a sarcastic, street-smart girl who accidentally yeets herself from modern-day NYC into the magical world of Athia, a place filled with dragons, deadly landscapes, and NPCs who act like they've been living off anxiety and coffee. Forspoken's magic combat system is basically Doctor Strange meets Skyrim on Red Bull. You're parkouring across cliffs, throwing lightning from your fingers, and combo chaining spells so fast your GPU starts sweating. Now, people roasted this game at launch for dialogue like, "OMG, is that a freaking dragon?" But let's be honest, that's exactly how we'd react if one flew at us IRL. Underneath the memes, there's a surprisingly deep RPG core. Open-world exploration, upgrade trees, crafting, and choice-driven storylines about survival and destiny. And those visuals? Chef's kiss. Unreal Engine 5 paints every landscape like a fantasy postcard. It's flashy, fast, and unapologetically stylish. The kind of RPG where you stop mid-fight just to screenshot the sky. If Baldur's Gate 3 is a tabletop campaign where everyone roleplays seriously, Forspoken is the same group's fun night, where the DM says, "Screw logic, let's fly." If Baldur's Gate 3 had a cousin who traded spellbooks for katanas, it'd be Rise of the Ronin. Made by Team Ninja, the folks behind Neo and Wolong, this game drops you into 19th century Japan, right when the country's about to explode into chaos. You're a wandering samurai, a literal ronin, deciding who to fight for and who to betray, kind of like a D&D campaign, but with way more slicing and way less talking. And yes, it's 100% an RPG. Deep progression, weapon skills, branching choices, romance options, moral dilemmas. It's all here. You can side with the shogunate or the revolution, flirt your way through diplomacy, or just stab everyone and call it a day. Combat? Elegant, bloody, and painfully satisfying. You will parry bullets, dodge flames, and one-hit enemies like you've practiced sword fighting in your dreams. The freedom of exploration is insane. Climbing rooftops, gliding through the wind, and customizing your combat style to fit your inner samurai fantasy. Graphically, it's one of the cleanest looking RPGs on PS5. Japan's streets glow with sunset light, and every duel looks like a scene out of a Kurosawa film. If Baldur's Gate 3 is about choices that shape kingdoms, Rise of the Ronin is about choices that shape your honor. Both let you decide your fate, just that one does it with fireballs and the other with flawless blade combos. If Baldur's Gate 3 is your D&D campaign where everyone argues about who heals first, Dragon's Dogma 2 is that campaign where someone says, "I jump on the dragon's head," and the game actually lets you do it. Capcom went full beast mode here. The world feels alive, not just graphically, but emotionally. NPCs have routines, monsters attack villages, and the physics engine is so detailed, you'll think twice before lighting that fire spell near a barrel of oil. You play as the Arisen, a chosen hero whose heart, literally, gets stolen by a dragon. The mission? Get it back and look cool doing it. You build your party with pawns, AI companions who mimic real player behavior. And somehow, they're smarter than most online teammates. The RPG depth? Massive. You've got multiple vocations, classes, gear crafting, skill trees, and a story that reacts to your choices, sometimes beautifully, sometimes brutally. The best part is the freedom. Want to fight a griffin mid-air? Go ahead. Want to pick up an NPC and throw them off a cliff? No judgment here. Graphically, it's wild. The RE engine delivers lighting and weather effects that make every fight look like a movie scene. If Baldur's Gate 3 is all about thinking before you act, Dragon's Dogma 2 is about acting first, regretting later. And that's exactly why it's so much fun. Yes, you read that right. This is Pinocchio meets Dark Souls. And no, I'm not kidding. Lies of P takes a children's fairy tale, rips it apart, and replaces the puppets with gothic horror and mechanical nightmares. You play as P, a beautifully dressed, emotionally damaged puppet searching for humanity in the haunted city of Krat. It's creepy, tragic, and weirdly elegant, like if Baldur's Gate 3 went to a Tim Burton afterparty. The RPG mechanics are solid. You level up, craft weapons, upgrade prosthetic arms, yes, arms, and make moral choices, lie or tell the truth, that literally change your ending. Every decision pushes you closer to becoming human, or something much worse. Combat is tight, punishing, and gorgeous. Every swing, dodge, and parry feels handcrafted. No button mashing here, only pure skill. The game constantly dares you to be brave, then punishes you for it, then rewards you for surviving anyway. And those visuals? Stunning. Industrial-era cities drenched in fog and candlelight, with music that feels like it's judging your every failure. If Baldur's Gate 3 is about morality in a world of magic, Lies of P is about morality in a world that's already broken. Both make you question what it means to be human, except this one lets you do it while drop-kicking robot clowns. If Baldur's Gate 3 lets you explore kingdoms, Starfield lets you explore the entire galaxy. This is Bethesda's Space D&D, except instead of dragons, you're fighting space bandits and making questionable life choices on different planets. You start as a simple space miner, and 5 minutes later, you're owning a spaceship, stealing from pirates, flirting with astronauts, and naming planets like Planet McPlanetface. This game gives you freedom overload. The RPG depth is classic Bethesda, character creation that lets you build anyone from a noble explorer to a caffeine-addicted smuggler. You choose traits, skills, factions, and dialogue that shape your entire journey. Want to be a peaceful scientist? Do it. Want to rob a space church? Weird flex, but sure. And yes, it's insanely detailed. Over 1,000 planets, each handcrafted or procedurally generated, with different ecosystems, resources, and enemies that don't care how much effort you put into your build. Combat mixes gunplay and gadgets with RPG stat management, and the ship customization, chef's kiss. You can literally build a flying toaster and still outgun the galaxy's best. If Baldur's Gate 3 is your medieval fantasy escape, Starfield is your existential crisis in space. Both let you roleplay your morals, just one does it in taverns and the other in zero gravity. If Baldur's Gate 3 had a cruel older sibling who never hugs you but still teaches you life lessons, it's Elden Ring. This masterpiece from Software takes open-world RPGs to mythical extremes. You're the Tarnished, wandering through the lands between, a world so hauntingly beautiful you'll stop to admire it and get one-shotted by a horse knight 5 seconds later. The RPG system is pure chaos in the best way. Dozens of builds, magic schools, and weapons that range from tiny daggers to literal moon-summoning swords. Every decision, from what you wear to which boss you annoy, affects your journey. And it's open world in the truest sense. No quest markers, no hand-holding, just you, your curiosity, and the sound of distant screams. Exploration feels like discovery. Combat feels like punishment, and victory feels like therapy. Graphically, jaw-dropping. The world design is Gothic poetry. Crumbling castles, blood-red skies, and glowing trees that look straight out of a fever dream. Like Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring thrives on freedom, moral interpretation, and pure immersion. Both make you earn your story, one through dialogue choices, the other through sweat and tears. If Baldur's Gate 3 asks, "Who will you become?" Elden Ring asks, "How many times will you die first?" If Baldur's Gate 3 is a beautifully written fantasy novel, The Witcher 3 is the 10,000-page epic your English teacher warned you about, except this one has monsters, romance, and way better side quests. You play as Geralt of Rivia, a professional monster slayer with the personality of a tired dyed and the jawline of a Greek statue. He's got 2 swords, one for monsters, one for humans, and possibly a third one for bad dialogue choices. This game defined what a modern RPG should feel like: freedom, choice, and moral pain. Every quest, no matter how small, pulls you into its story. You think you're just helping a villager find a goat, and suddenly you're in a tragic moral debate about love, loyalty, and goat rights. The RPG mechanics, deep as the emotional damage it gives you. Alchemy, sword styles, dialogue trees, gear crafting, all perfectly layered so you can play your way, whether that's noble hero or sarcastic Witcher for hire. The next-gen update makes it even more insane. Ray tracing, 60 FPS, new camera angles. It's basically The Witcher 3 remastered by God himself. If Baldur's Gate 3 showed you the beauty of story-driven fantasy, The Witcher 3 reminds you that good and evil are just 2 bad dialogue options apart. You expected swords and spells? Surprise! Cyberpunk 2077 brings that Baldur's Gate 3 emotional depth into a world of chrome, corruption, and Keanu Reeves. Phantom Liberty isn't just DLC, it's a full-blown redemption arc. You play as V, a mercenary in Night City, where every decision either earns you cash, chaos, or another therapy bill.
And just like Baldur's Gate 3, choices matter. You can talk your way out of danger, betray allies, or romance your way into moral disaster. The RPG systems are deeper than ever. New skill trees, spy thriller missions, and a story that feels like a political movie directed by Tarantino and neon lighting. Each choice ripples across the city, changing how characters treat you, how missions unfold, and sometimes who lives to tell the tale. Phantom Liberty's story rivals Baldur's Gate in emotional weight. It's personal, intense, and filled with oh no moments that make you pause the game and stare at the wall. And graphically, unreal. Night City glows like it runs on RTX in Heartbreak. The lighting, reflections, and animations are top tier. This is the RPG that finally made next gen mean something. If Baldur's Gate 3 is fantasy at its peak, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty is sci-fi storytelling at its best. Both prove that no matter the setting, dragons or data chips, what really matters are the choices that define you.